So here we are with our sheep that we got to clear the weeds and the grass on our 1.1 acres here. We live, I guess, in a zone where you can have farm animals. So that's always helpful when you're getting bigger livestock. And I just wanted to make a longer video than some of the shorts I've been making to kind of go over why we got them and how we got them and how we're keeping them and all of the things. So I guess the first question is that so here I am with my sheep grazing on our property. They're doing a good job of taking care of the weeds and the grass for us. We just got them almost 2 weeks ago now, maybe 12 days ago. And I wanted to make a video about why we got sheep, our situation a little bit, how, you know, how we're keeping them and how it came to be. And I just think these guys are really cool. So let's just get into it here. First of all, we live on 1.1 acres. And according to my research, you can have 2 sheep per acre. And so we have this mama sheep here and her baby lamb, ram, and pretty much they're maxing it out on our property because even though we're 1.1 acres, we're kind of a rectangle like this. It's not like an acre of just pure pasture, where you can move them around and they can get fresh grass every 5 days. We're basically an acre where we have our house, we have a backyard where our dogs are, we have a big driveway. And so we just have a lot of areas like this that we kind of let them out to graze each day. And we've been really happy with sheep so far. The other thing about sheep that are nice is that they don't mess with fences very much. So you can see, I don't know if you see in the background, there's some poultry netting here, which is just a net. Mama has blasted through it at one point where the gate of it is, which is pretty weak because right on the other side was chicken food, which is like candy for them. So she has blasted through it once, but for the most part, we moved the chicken food out of her sight. She hasn't tried to do it again. We're pretty much letting her free roam here on our property. My front yard has my cars out here, trash cans, things that if you were to have goats, that they would not be okay with. So, it's so beautiful here. We love our property so much. We have these boulders and this manzanita that grows, and so we've got some mountain views back there. We just lost the sheep, but they were behind me. And so the other reason why not goats is because we have this manzanita grove here. We really think they're beautiful, and sheep graze low, so they eat grass and whatever is on the ground. And goats actually are higher grazers. They like tree leaves, so they would have shredded the bark off of anything lower of the manzanita, anything on the lower part of it, the leaves, they would have damaged. So we also have oak here too. So we wanted to, the goal of the clearing here for fire clearance is the grass and anything low anyway. So that's why sheep and not goats. So here they are grazing an area that would normally be tricky for us to weed whack or mow with these rocks everywhere. And you can see they've got poultry netting behind them. Mostly poultry netting. There's a little bit of a random wire net there, but they're doing a good job. So yeah, sheep will graze anything low, anything on the ground. I saw her nibble a little bit on this sumac bush here behind her, but for the most part, she likes to be a lawnmower and eat what's on the ground. So yeah, we got these guys to help clear the weeds. And the other thing is that when you have 1 acre, you're limited to animals that can graze. You can't actually have a cow because a cow really needs more like 5 acres to support them if you're going to feed them fresh grass. If not, you're buying hay all the time and kind of confining them in a little paddock, and that's when they're basically just standing in their poop and pee all day. So we like the idea of having animals as much as we can and having their environment be as natural as they can. So in that regard, 1 acre will support 2 sheep. They'll have enough forage, at least here in Southern California, a couple months out of the year when it turns green here. And then we will have to feed hay after that or harvest, depending on what we come up with. I also like that these guys are pretty easy to maneuver. When we bought them, we just put them in the back of my minivan. So that was interesting. We didn't have to get a real trailer for livestock. A livestock trailer can be kind of expensive. So where we got them, and this is interesting because she's so if you're wondering where we got them, it's not exactly like you can find sheep on every corner. Goats are a lot more common actually, but I raised rabbits. I raised rabbits and I sold a rabbit to a really cool lady, and I was just talking to her and she was telling me how she had sheep, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I've heard about that. And she said, well, I actually have this mom and baby that I'm selling. She's like, I don't usually sell them. So that's how we got these guys. They are called hair sheep. So hair sheep, you don't have to shear them. They just, it's kind of like a dog, I guess, how you can have a shedding dog or a non-shedding dog. I think I might be wrong, but anyway, we don't ever have to shear their wool. That's just as long as their hair gets, and it's just kind of how they are. But if you are looking to find a sheep to purchase, pretty much Craigslist, at least here where I am in SoCal, is the only option. I think there's some Facebook groups now for livestock in San Diego area where I am that are becoming bigger. But yeah, that's where we got them. So I want to talk about how it's going so far. Basically, when we got her, she was in a quarantine pen, which is standard. If you're to buy a livestock animal, they quarantine from the herd for 30 days to make sure they're well, they don't have any issues, and then they'll sell them. And in her case, it was because she just had a baby, so she was kind of in the mom and baby pen. So they were only on hay when we got them, and when I brought her here, we were so excited to just let her roam, let her be free. And then we started having issues with her poop being really clumpy and not the normal pellets that the poop is supposed to be. So it's been a learning curve for me. I keep reading about it and checking in with her former owner, and everyone is saying just give them time. They'll get adjusted. She's stressed out from her new environment. She's barely been here 2 weeks. And not to mention, there's been construction next door. I mean, honestly, like the loudest construction you could ever think of. They're jackhammering out their pool and putting in a new pool. So I mean, right next door to where her pen is. So all of that aside, I'm letting her out for about an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day to graze. And she'll get clumpy poops kind of throughout the night in the morning. And then we'll have normal poop again throughout the day. So that's the max I'm wanting to let her out right now until her poops just consistently stay good. There is issues with sheep where they get bloat and they just die. And we're kind of doing all this really on a shoestring budget. I do have an appointment with a vet because we're going to be castrating the ram because he could actually be dangerous for I have little kids and stuff. So I'm I'm having them check her out, but there's really no reason right now. I've only had her 2 weeks. There's not some emergency problem with her. Um, it's a lot of people might say it's parasites or a number of things, but I'm just kind of going to wait till things calm down and hopefully her poop will normalize. But I never thought I would be so hyper focused on sheep poop for multiple days in my life, but that's kind of where we're at right now. The other thing about having one singular sheep and one lamb and doing it on such a small scale was just random issues happen with that. So like I went to the feed store and kind of was talking about the clumpy poop situation. They were saying, well, why don't you just deworm her? And the lady at the feed store and I were looking at this instructions for this dewormer that's for like a whole flock, and doing the math to have just one sheep eat this thing was it was like hard to figure out. And the other thing is it was expensive. So I am definitely going to have to deworm because they do have this small pen. Parasites, especially the summer, are going to become an issue. Some sheep are more parasite resistant than others, but pretty much parasites are their number one enemy. So that's totally on my mind. But that was just an interesting side note about when you have one animal, um, buying medicine for them can be tricky. I am going to research. I know there's loads of natural ways to deworm them, so I'm going to research that. They want to get a little shot here of their housing, which was a lot easier than I expected. Maybe it's because we've had so many animals here now. So we pretty much got a 20 by 20 pen. We used the corner of our yard that already had fence and only had to run this fence line here with 4-foot welded wire and 5-foot T-posts. That's about 20 feet each way, so 40 feet total of fencing. Pretty easy. We bought this retriever dog kennel on Facebook Marketplace, and we had an amazing neighbor donate these corrugated roof panels for me. He cut them to the size, and it was awesome. Then we also bought some hardware to attach it from Ace Hardware, pretty easy. Other than that, I bought a fly trap. I bought some alfalfa. One bale of alfalfa is about 20 bucks. And then they have this mineral feeder back here. Oh, the cost for everything, where we're in the hole right now, about $600. My friend pretty much gave us an amazing deal. They're not tagged on the ear, so they're not registered livestock, but we got the lamb and the ram for $300. I got the retriever kennel on Marketplace for $160. The roof was donated. We bought one bale of hay, it was 20 bucks. I actually got a bale of straw for the bedding inside of their kennel at night for free from a Buy Nothing group. And then the T-posts and fencing, we actually had the roll of 4-foot fencing already, but that really isn't a lot of money. It was like $30 for T-posts, a fly trap, the mineral feeder, all of that was pretty reasonable. We had the water basin for them. So overall, like, I think that they've paid for themselves. We had a landscape company come out once just to weed whack. That was it. Weed whacking and mowing. And I thought, oh, it was like near Father's Day one year. And I was like, I want to give my husband a break. We have a whole acre. We spend 15 or 20 hours every year just with the weed whacker. And I don't know if you know, but a gas weed whacker, I went out there one day and I made it 15 minutes with shit flying in your face, getting in your boots. It's not fun. It's the worst. I will do anything to never do that again. That's why we bought sheep. So anyway, I had a landscape company come out, two guys. I don't even think they were there like a full day. They weren't there 8 hours. I mean, they came in the morning, they left in the afternoon. I don't know why, but it was $750. And that is like burned into my brain. So that really is what sparked this whole thing. And here we are with our little sheep now. So here's a little tour of their enclosure. We had this gate on our property. We've used it for multiple projects, and I think it's so cool that we just bolted it into this fence post that has about 20 years of wear on it from the former owners who had horses in this area. You can see that's where the horses rubbed the wood down, but it's holding onto this little sheep fence here. They really don't put pressure on fencing how a goat would. And here's where we put them at night to keep them safe. We have mountain lions and coyotes on our property. That's a salt lick, keeping their door open here. There's the straw we got for their bedding inside, and on top of that is their alfalfa hay. The mom is eating alfalfa right now since she's nursing. I had this plastic tub here, so that's where we're putting the hay so far. They do waste a lot of hay, so some people have some creative ways of hanging it and all that, but for now that's working for us. As far as minerals, we are using Redmond's sheep mineral, and we're using Icelandic kelp. What's this? Oh, so here you can't really see because something, you can see the green. So there's the Icelandic kelp under there. There is also baking soda. So pretty much standard minerals for a sheep that you need is salt and baking soda, but you can bump it up with the Icelandic kelp, and it's nice to have that extra sheep mineral. And I just love having a big water basin. So that's pretty much it. Can't go wrong with a pooper scooper here to have a little daily maintenance, scooping up their poop. And it's funny when I can't find them because, like I said, that's just our house. This is our, they love being up near our house. I've noticed. I feel like she's very used to people. She was pretty much a pet, this mama sheep. We got really lucky with her. He's a little more skittish of us, but she's super sweet. And I feel like she stays up here near the house to be near us almost. That's just kind of my guess. Or whatever she's eating is maybe really tasty up here. But he's so cute to watch. They do like to climb like goats. Like he will climb on these rocks and jump around. But if we had goats here, it would not be fun. They'd probably be eating all my succulents up here, and we have our cars parked here in front of our house. So I just feel like sheep was just the perfect fit. And I do want to say that it's definitely been a gradual path to get to sheep at this point. So I raised rabbits and quail for a long time and chickens, and sheep does seem to be the next step in that progression. We love gardening and animals, and that's why we moved out here to 1 acre where we are. So I would say I feel like I'm following the trajectory. A lot of what I know about parasite control with rabbits and chickens and poop and all the things, I think kind of helped lead to this point where I feel like I have the confidence to take care of these guys. I will say though that I do think there's a chance she could die. I'm not I'm not saying I'm 100% certain I'm going to be able to keep her alive, just because the the issue with her poop, it really is serious. She could get bloat, and I've heard by the time you're calling an emergency livestock vet to come out, the sheep just die. So I I'm kind of just in the back of my mind, it's probably just a mom thing where you prepare for the worst, just thinking, okay, she could die. So every day that she's alive, we're celebrating. And yeah, my mom keeps asking me to name him. I have like 40 animals the last I checked, so we haven't named the ram yet. So I guess we need to come up with a name for him. But the mom's name is Flower. So That was cute. And blackhead hair sheep, that is the breed she is. They usually are just like the little ram. They have a black head and a white body. But Flower was the genetic wild card, so she's has a lot of black in her, and that's super cool. I do want to breed her again. That is kind of the long-term plan. I'm hoping that um, I can bring her back to the ranch she came from. I mean, I think he'll trust me not to bring in um, disease if there's like a way of testing them. So there's this whole process. But anyway, that would be the best if I could just go leave her there, because the thing about sheep is that a ram, so a male sheep, is dangerous. So we have a ram right now, and he's not neutered or castrated, but we do have an appointment coming up in a couple weeks because he's gonna have horns. Like, it's gonna be no joke. Like, he could ram you. So we're not really gonna mess around, and we're probably not gonna keep him past 6 months, to be honest. I just have to make sure, my kid can come out here and bounce this little ball and be safe. But so that'll be interesting. So my long term goal, I guess, is to breed her, get her back from the ranch. I'm hoping pregnant and with another female, maybe even another mom, and then we could possibly sell the baby. So that's 1 year from now, and that's about as how long it'll take to recoup the money we put into them, to be honest. Will probably be in 1 year, but we're not really, I'm not a breeder per se, or just kind of keeping it going. And how cute to have a little baby lamb be born and watch that whole process, because they grow so fast. I feel like this guy's already double the size. We got him just a couple weeks ago. And we do have a garden, which I was really worried about her getting into, but just this little bit of chicken wire here, she hasn't really even tried to go in there. So she does love to cruise around for sure. Here she is in front of my house, looking in the window. Hey, Mama. Oh, I know. So here she's going to eat the cat food. Okay, okay. No, no, no. Okay. So that really surprised me that she would want cat food. This is the second time she's done that. That is like, for some reason, surprising to me, because you would think she's a vegetarian and the cat food is like has meat flavor, but here we are. So yeah, I kind of follow these guys around when they're out on my property and make sure they don't get into trouble. It's kind of like watching your 1 year old that first learns to walk, and making sure they don't get into anything. But I know if you have goats, I mean, a goat will jump up on your car. I heard they'll eat your license plate frame on your car. So yeah, that's getting into a cat food bowl. She's still pretty mellow here. The pitter patter sound of their hoofs on my driveway is so cool. I don't know why. Oh, that is one thing I forgot to mention, is that we will see if her hoofs need to be sheared soon when she has an appointment at the vet to get checked out. And then I'm going to have to learn how to do that. So that'll be interesting. But I've cut rabbit toenails and dog and cat. So I guess sheep is just like the next level. Yeah, so I feel like a goat would have climbed up on my propane tank. These guys are just kind of cruising around it. They're not, oh, I mean, she's so fat. She can't climb anything right now with her udders and everything. I can't imagine. I don't even know how goats do it, to be honest, but they've been so sweet. And she loves eating all of this grass coming up here that it's actually an invasive species called rip gut brome, and it's what leaves foxtails everywhere. Foxtails are horrible. I think this is funny. I bought a bale of hay for them, a bale of alfalfa. Threw it right here in the minivan, right here on this big WeatherTech mat. So I'm just going to pull the mat out and hose that off. But I think next time I will probably take the truck to get hay. And we also transported this little mama and her baby in the back of the minivan. We lured her in with some sweet cracked corn, and she did pretty good. The owners of the ranch we got her from thought maybe we may have to hog tie her down with a rope if she got upset in the minivan, but thankfully I was able to just kind of actually sit back there with her and keep her calm, and we made it. And here we are 2 weeks later. And as far as daily care, I think I honestly spend 10 minutes a day at the most taking care of them. So it consists of getting a flake of alfalfa, throwing it in their feeding bowl. Once a week, we fill up the water. So far, she goes through that basin of water in about a week. And I mean, I guess letting them out at night and then getting them in, I would say it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I was a little scared it was going to be hard, but if you have some alfalfa pellets in your hand, that's like candy to them, or a baggie of it. I shook a little baggie of alfalfa pellets that I actually got from my neighbor who has horses. Because that's another thing. I have one sheep, so I didn't want to buy a 40-pound bag or a 50-pound bag of alfalfa pellets. So thankfully, my neighbor gave me a little Ziploc bag, and that's been lasting us this whole time. Which actually, I'm going to see if she can refill it for me. But getting them in at night, I mean, if you have those in your hand, then they just follow you right in. I think it's just been pretty satisfying so far. Here I am looking out my front door at my sheep, something I never thought would be so satisfying.